Hello, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. Today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Acharei. We're coming to the end of Chodesh Nisan. This week we start learning Pirkei Avos, and we're in the middle of Sfiras HaOmer. So what is the connection between these three things? Parshas Acharei, Sfiras HaOmer, and the Mishnah, the Perek of Pirkei Avos. Before we start, we'll start with a prayer, which is going to be about the subject that we're going to talk about today. We say this twice before Shachris, as part of the Kabbonis. We say the Parsha of Ketores. We also say it before Mincha. We say it part of our prayers. Ato Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Aviseinu. You are Hashem, the God of our father and forefathers. Shektiru Aviseinu L'fenechas Ketores Hasamim. Bizman Shebeis Hamikdash Ka'ayom Kashrevisa Yisamayad Moshe Neviecho Kakosa B'Seiresecha. Then we go to outline where it speaks about the whole order, how we did it, how is this Avodah. Now we started with, we forgot to give tzedakah. Since the war started, we're adding also in tzedakah. Hashem should bring Mashiach now. End the war, all the houses should return safely, and everyone should be healthy. Mashiach now. So, in this week's Parsha, it speaks about the Avodah of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, as the Pasuk says, Achas Bashana, the one day of the year that was higher, the most holiest day. As Chassidus explained, Achas Bashana is when the Yechida, the highest level of the Neshama becomes revealed. We'll speak more about it a bit later, probably. Hopefully. Anyway, so the Pasuk says that the Avodah of Yom Kippurim, what happened, the Kohen Gadol, the only day of the year that the Kohen Gadol will go into the Holy of Holies, and Hashem appeared over there, Ki be'onon eiroe ala kaporos. The Kohen made a cloud of smoke, and Hashem appeared to the Kohen Gadol, whatever that means, appeared through this cloud of smoke. So the Parsha starts off, Ki be'onon eiroe ala kaporos, and then it speaks about the different things he has to do, and one of the things he does is, he had to take a pan, and he has to also have on one hand incense, spices, and herbs. And then the next pasuk, he put these herbs, these incense, into the pan of fire, and then there was a nanaktoides, and then this cloud of smoke that came connected with the burning of these herbs, the incense, that was the incense, and this was a great revelation of godliness. So what is special about the Avodah of Ketores, and why that happens in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? I mean, you could ask a question, why can't we sacrifice an animal in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Because it's too messy. What about the whole Beis HaMikdash? And when we take something physical and we're taking grasses, herbs, and we burn that, what is that all about? Why dafka that? So what I'm going to tell you today is primarily a sikha from the Rebbe in Chelik Yud Daled, Parshas Vayelech, page 129 and further. Over there the Rebbe explains something very, very interesting. I don't want to get into the details that we did this Avodah of Ketores every day of the year. And that was on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. But then, on Yom Kippur, we bring the Ketores, is to carry the pan and the herbs in the other hand, like we said before, places down the pan on the floor with the fire, and puts the herbs on it, and that's in Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the holiest of holies. Only that happens on Yom Kippur. And the Rebbe explains over there at length, I don't want to elaborate, you'll have to see there, that on Yom Kippur we only have this idea, Ki be'onon eiroe ala kaporos, that the smoke is a very essential thing, and that Hashem himself appears in that smoke. So in other words, in the avodah of the Ketores, Dafka on Yom Kippur is in Kodesh Kodshim, and Dafka only on Yom Kippur was this idea that the essence of Hashem was revealed in that cloud of smoke that came through the fire from the burnt incense. So what is that about? So the Rebbe explains, what's Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is the avodah of Teshuvah. Yom Kippur represents the ultimate of how far, what we can accomplish through the avodah of Ketores, and that's why it has to be in Kodesh Kodshim. So let's start first talking about what Ketores is, and then we'll be able to understand how in Yom Kippur is the ultimate of that. So, Ketores comes from the word Ketira. Bechad Ketira is Katana. That means connection, bond, unification. That means that service of the Ketores represents the ultimate bonding and uniting with Hashem. But, and as it speaks in many places, Behema signifies, animals signify Nefesh HaBahamis. The whole service of Kabbalas and sacrifices represents, on a certain level, elevating your animalistic, your Nefesh HaBahamis and Yetzer Hara. But what about the lowest of the low? The worst aspects of your personality, your tendencies, etc. That's something which represented not in an animal, but even lower than that, in the grass and the herbs. Because the Ketores had 11 ingredients, which is another whole discussion of Kabbalah, and that was food which is not really fit for consumption. It's not really Michael Adam. People eat from a behema, eat meat, but you don't eat grass. And these spices, we'll call spices, cannot be eaten by themselves. And even more than that, one of the spices, one of the herbs, one of the Ketores was chelbana. Chelbana was foul-smelling, and it was vile. And in this really lies the whole secret, the whole idea of Ketores. As Rashi brought out in Parshas Kisisa, but over there also it speaks about the avodah of Yom Kippur, and it speaks about chelbana, which is one of the 11 ingredients, translated galbanum. And Rashi says, on chelbana, boishem sherech ra, boishem sherech ra. It was a spice whose smell is foul. Umna akosa ben samani akteres, and the posuk mentions it amongst the ingredients of the incense. We should not consider it insignificant. We should include the sinners of Israel as members of the congregation for our fasts and our prayers. They should be counted among us. But it's not only because of this idea of engagement. It's much more than that. They make us complete. Like we say, the word tzibur, congregation, is Rosh Tevis Tzadikim Beinim Rishayim. The ultimate praise and glory, and therefore also satisfaction that Hashem has, is when someone who before was part of the opposition, part of an anti, completely alienated and rebelling, so to speak, rejecting, and then he himself turns around, there's no greater joy by the king. And therefore, this is where Ketores, the avodah of Ketores, is greater than the avodah of Karbonos. Karbonos represents such a level of klipa, which is not so low, not the lowest of the lowest, not the lowest of the low, and therefore it represents food which could be eaten by humans. Number one, over here, we're talking about things which cannot be, they're not fit for eating. And even more than that, we're talking about something which is foul, smelling, and vile odor, and that itself must be included. And that makes the avodah of Ketores complete. Now we have Teshuvah, so therefore all year long the truth is, through the avodah of Ketores, it represents how all of Jewry, all of the Yid not connected to the Eibishter. But then the Rebbe explains that there's two levels of Teshuvah. There's a level of Teshuvah me'ava, and there's a level of Teshuvah me'ira. And the Gemara says there's a level of Teshuvah which comes from fear, and then we only say that there's Dainis Nasli Kishgogus. The sins are considered like he made a mistake, but it's not the ultimate level of Teshuvah. Of course Hashem accepts it, but it's not the ultimate. The ultimate novelty is when Dainis Nasli Kizachis, when the Avedas are transformed into mitzvahs. And that only happens through Teshuvah me'ava, through Teshuvah from love. How does the Rebbe explain this? Why is that Yom Kippur? Because we have a Zohar that says that on Yom Kippur, the Satan has no power. Which, Hu HaMiyitzahara, Hu HaMalachim Avos, that means evil, or I don't want to say the word evil, but the side of Hashem which is making decrees or seeks to prosecute does not exist. It has no power in Yom Kippur. So if on the day of Yom Kippur it has no power, why are we doing this whole avodah on Yom Kippur to transform, which we said before, the idea of this chelbana is to take aspects that are most negative, most annoying, most disturbing, most difficult, and that itself should become transformed and used for positive. So the Rebbe explains, no. There's one sort of avodah which is connected to a negative concept. Teshuvah me'ira, all year long. Teshuvah me'ira is the avodah that we take this chelbana, and the purpose of the chelbana is to stop being something negative, but connected to a lower level of return. A level of return that's connected to negativity. There's fear. There's a king. There's an overwhelming force which is telling you, don't do this. There's something more powerful, etc. But it's still connected to something negative. Fear is lower than love. But then we have Teshuvah Avarabba. That means that it really became you. It's from the depth of your soul. It's from the Yechidah. There's no other way. There's Elikus, and that's it. Nothing else. And it became totally what your essence is. And therefore, what we're revealing from our soul, from our neshama on Yom Kippur, Achas B'Shana, is a level of return where there can't be no other way. Me, you, Hashem, Father, Son, Tata. I want you. And when you reveal that level of your neshama, it's not connected to anything negative. It's not that you're running away from fire. You're just embracing life. It's only connected to something positive, going higher and higher in holiness. And that's something new. It's not that we're like, in other words, you have a person, and he has a wound, and now when this wound will be healed, it'll be as good as it always was. No. Over here we're saying you become better than ever. It's a whole new novelty. And that's because you reveal the deepest level of your neshama. You're better than ever. One example you can give maybe is, Rabbi used to speak about this idea many times. Sometimes you have two people and they have an argument. So you have one position and your friend has another position. Sometimes your friend could agree with you because he has no choice. What does it mean he has no choice? The facts prove that you're right. After arguing for years and years about a certain thing, finally one day you come with all the paperwork, the data. My friend, you're wrong. I can prove it. So the person says, you know what? The truth is, you're right. I admit. It works out better your way. But the truth is, I still, theoretically, if things were in a perfect world or whatever, I think my way is better. But you prove that it doesn't work practically. But that means that in spirit, in theory, sein Zufriedenstellung, sein Tainug, sein Geschmack is still where he was previously. But he has no choice, so therefore he has to give in. That's one level of Teshuvah. You could do Teshuvah, but you still have a Geschmack in Yonei Elam Hazeh. You have a bigger Geschmack in Elikus. You understand? And you can still even miss certain things that you did before, or certain geschmack in Welt. Then you have another level of Teshuvah, where das wird dein Zufriedenstellung, das ist dein Geschmack. There's nothing else. Ein Eid Milvadei. There's Yechida Shebenefesh, and once your Yechida gets tapped into, like the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, I think chapter 19, everything else falls away. Like nothing. It has zero value, zero worthiness. And that's Teshuvah Ilah. And that's also that we have a new phenomena. Because of that, and that means Ava Rabba. Ava Rabba means we look at you now, we see you in a state of ecstasy, or in a state of exaltation, or in a state of intensity or passion, which we never saw before. Even before you wandered off, even before you deviated. Let's say you have a person, he was a certain way, and then he fell lower and lower and lower, and now he's getting back on the right path. But what we see now is that he's stronger in a way that was never before. And why is he stronger? Like the Alter Rebbe explains in chapter 7 of Tanya, the point is, he reached a level of chelbana. And now, as Rashi brought out before, that we cannot make, in other words, what happens, I don't know if I made it clear, that smell of the foul smell, when mixed with the other spices, it makes all the other smells come together in a unique way. Because it includes the chelbana, which that unique odor is exactly what's meant to be offered to Hashem. And that odor, which comes cultivating and using also the chelbana, is the ultimate odor and fragrance. So the same too is in Avodas Teshuvah. You have to go down into the realm, what's called Sholosh Klippas Hatmeis. And you went into Zdoinos. And now you became a totally different person, better than other people that never went down to those Zdoinos, to such an area. We see such an awesome, it's a wonder. We see a special service of Hashem. And that causes Zdoinos Nasli Kizachis. Now, this is the difference between the Avodah of Ketores a whole year and the Avodah of Ketores, of Yom Kippur. That the Avodah of Ketores the whole year also might include something like Chelbana, but it doesn't become mamish, the highest level of Teshuvah. So it includes Chelbana because we're talking about somebody who did Teshuvah. So it's there. Zdoinos are there. But there's a question of Zdoinos Nasli Kishgogos or Zdoinos Nasli Kizachis. Only on Yom Kippur. Where we go Lifnai v'Lifnim, it works both ways. Since we go into the essence, my Achas, my Yechida becomes revealed, and we go into the Achas, the Yechida of Olam, of space, in the Koche Kochim, and Aaron HaKohen Gadol is the Yechida of Nefesh. So it's like it says in other places, Yom Kippur is Achas B'Shana, in Olam Shana Nefesh, in the holiest place on earth, Koche Kochim, with the holiest person, the Kohen Gadol. Olam, Shana, and the holiest day of the year. So all these things come together, and this is what it signifies, that each and every single one of the Yidden on the day of Yom Kippur brought out his Etzem HaNefesh, his truest being, his Gishmak, his Tainug. That's who he really is. And he connected in that way to Hashem's essence to essence. And therefore, when we reach the highest level, the Chelbana also becomes transformed. Similar to what's going to be when Mashiach comes, then when the Yeshar Amiti, as they say, the ultimate level of Hashem is revealed, everything becomes transformed and included and elevated, and we see how the Eibishter is the only existence. So that's the Avodah Yom Kippur. Now, there's another Maimon Azal connected to this. It says, Kol Agudah she'ein ba mipeishi Yisrael eina Agudah. There's no congregation that does not include the Peishi Yisrael. In other words, if the Peishi Yisrael are missing, if there's one Jew that's alienated in such a way that he doesn't feel part of Klal Yisrael, something's missing in the rest of Klal Yisrael. Same idea over here, that we have to dafke include the Chelbana, and the Chelbana makes us complete. We see that also in the story of the Dalet Minim. As we know, the Arava, the 4 kinds, and the Arava, Ein Boi Reach ve'Ein Boi Tam, it has no flavor, and it has no odor, and we see how it's included over there. Now the truth is, this is a very deep concept. Getting back to the Sikha, and maybe I'll talk about it next week, I'm not sure if we can make a connection. The whole idea is over here that sometimes, in other words, like this, during the rest of the year, the purpose of the Keteris is to get to the animal soul, and this is the purpose by all the other Kabbonis. The purpose is to get to the negative aspects, negative elements, and elevate them. Then we have a higher level of service. The purpose is not to get to the negative. That's the answer to the question that we said before. If Yom Kippur, there's no Satan, why are we aiming to deal with negativity? The answer is we're not dealing with negativity. We're going for the jackpot. We're going for the essence. Once you touch that essence, once you trigger that, everything works out. So we're going deep, deep, deep in Oimek HaNefesh to reach the highest level of Avodas Hashem, where once we reach that, automatically we get all the results and the consequences, including that these doinas naslik izachiyes. So what is the avodah of Yom Kippur? The avodah of Yom Kippur is ich will dich allein. There's nothing else. It's not that you think about restitution. It's not that you think about atonement. It's like Chassidus says, Teshuvah doesn't mean on a sin. Teshuvah means we're returning. We want to have the most intimate relationship with Hashem. That's the idea. Once we're seeking and we're going for the top level of bonding and uniting with Hashem, automatically, then the lowest of the low becomes elevated. So this is the beauty of this idea, that when you hit the highest of the high, then the lowest of the low also becomes transformed. And this is the connection to Tzviras HaImer. There's a famous Maimer of the Rebbe, Svartim Lechem Mimachas HaShabbos Tavshin Aleph, where he asked the question, why does it say Svartim Lechem Mimachas HaShabbos? It should have said Svartim Lechem Mimachas HaPesach. Because the Gemara says that from these words of the Pasuk, there became a whole argument that maybe it means Shabbos, the day after Shabbos. Not the day after Pesach, the second day of Yontif. And the Rebbe explains, because Shabbos represents 7, the perfection of the cycle. Machas HaShabbos means we have to reach a level which is even higher than the cycle. Like it's explained in some places, the concept of 8 and 11. And that's also how it's explained, by the way, that the incense is 11. 11 represents Amtu Chod V'lo B'chushmana, Keser, the highest Sphira of Elikus. But 11 is also connected to Klippas. And it's the 11th level of Kedusha that can reach the lowest level of Klippa, the 11th, etc. Anyways, so, Svartim Lechem, how do we accomplish the Avodah of Tzviras HaImer? What's the Avodah of Tzviras HaImer? That the Jews were in the 49th level of impurity. And we needed the highest of the high, Machas HaShabbos, which comes after 7. We need infinity itself. Bichvaydei u'ba'atzmai. Like it says in Haggadah. Le'yadei malach, le'yadei saraf. But the Eibush himself had to come down to the lowest of the low in order to elevate it. And that's what it means. Svartim Lechem. What could reach the lowest, most negative elements and aspects of your Nefesh HaBahamis? Mimachas HaShabbos. A level of infinity. That's it. That has no limits, etc. Similar to what we discussed today, that Dafke and the Avodah of Yom Kippur, Teshuvah Me'ava, we get to this Doinas Naslik Kazachis, the Chelban itself becomes transformed completely in the highest way. So that's the connection to Tzviras HaImer. The connection to Pirkei Avos is the Mishnah, Hevei mitalmidav shel Aaron, you should be like the Talmidim of Aaron, Oyev Shalom, V'reiv Shalom, Oyev Habriyos. And the Rebbe would say many times, Oyev Habriyos means to love creations. That means when you're dealing with a person who the only good thing you could say about him is, in a revealed way right now, is that he's a creation of God. And because Hashem created him, there must be good in him. He has Elokus in him. Aaron saw that in every single person. How a person has a nitzutz of Hashem, Elokus, the ayin. And once he looked at every single person in such a way, because Aaron is the highest level, as we explained in the Avodah in Kippur, therefore he was able to take that person, who right now the only quality he could say about him is that he's brios, he's a creation of Hashem, and he was able to bring it up from him, in a revealed way. So just to say one story, it's not really the same thing, mamish, but it's the idea, once you go to the top, go straight to the source. L'cha Hashem, nothing else. And bring out the depth of you and talk to Hashem as a father. Tati, I want you. I want to see you. Mashiach now. We'd like to be united in the deepest level. But it means also in life to make the right choices and to have that passion and intensity of a level of Ava Rabbah. Anyways, the story over here, I would like to say, is an interesting story. This is in Torah Shalom, page 84, where the Alter Rebbe said that the B'zusha Nepoli was the Lamdan Amiti. He was a true Lamdan, a true scholar. And there's a story that one time the Alter Rebbe was arguing with Rabbi Yitzchak and Baditchev, and they were both known Go'inim, super geniuses of Talmud and scholarship, and they were going back and forth about a certain Rambam, which is a very deep discussion amongst them, and they couldn't get it straight. Each one was saying different svaras, this way, that way. Anyways, the B'shutzer heard them arguing in this very deep argument of the Rambam and Talmud. So he went over to ask them, what's your discussion? What are you talking about? They smiled, because it wasn't really his method to go in depth. He wasn't known for his brilliant Talmudical genius of going in-depth study. But he asked them again and again and again and again. So they told him what the Rambam says, and it seems that it's a very difficult Rambam. So Reb Zusha, his path was that he would cry, and when he didn't understand something in Torah, he would start crying. Zusha vesnet dem pshat in the minyan. He would say Zusha does not know pshat. While he was studying the Gemara and he didn't understand it, he would say Zusha doesn't know pshat. And he would cry till he would fall asleep. And then the one who said whatever issue in Torah that he didn't understand, Rava, Abaye, whoever it is, would reveal himself to him, and then he would be able to answer what was the pshat in the inyan. And he understood it, and he got the right pshat. And that's what happened over here. When he heard all the kashas in the Rambam, he started crying. The Beinish Shalom Zusser Vesin dem pshat in the Rambam. In them and their minion. The B'zusha doesn't know the Pshat and the Rambam in this subject, in this matter. And he fell asleep after he started crying. Obviously, it was some kind of trance. And the Rambam came to him and told him Pshat. And then he woke up and he went to the Alter Rebbe and to Teshuvah, and he told him, this is what the Rambam says. So it's understood. It was a wonderful, amazing pshat. And therefore he's the Lamdan Amiti. He's the true scholar. Because when a person says some kind of pshat, who says it's right? 100%. But when the Rambam says the pshat, then you know for sure that it's the truth. It's the Rambam telling you pshat in his words. And therefore, Olacheinu Lamdan Amiti. Veistem Pshat Lamitose. The Im Lav Yovi Bala Memrahi V'Yevayli Kol Sheyechpeit. Because when the B'zusha would be telling you, you knew that if there was any difficulty in it, he already had heard the Pshat from the source. Maybe she should help, that we should try to reach from within ourselves deeper levels of connection to Hashem, and we see that the deeper we reach, we reveal from ourselves, the deeper we reach in Hashem, and L'cha Hashem, ich will dich allein, and then like Reb Zusha Once you go to the source, once you connect to the source, the ultimate level, things work out. But you have to always remember that when you're in your life, think, what does the Eibishter want? What is the source? What is the real point of it? What is the order of the day? The Eibishter should help that if we do our part, this will bring the Geula Mitzvah Shlema, take of Miad Mamish. Posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.